I'll have to delete Adam Jones from my phone book if I replace him from this team.
So go on then, Biggs. Are you going to upset some Irish fans? Who are you picking?
Everyone now is saying that they're the best team that's ever played the game. Don't think there's anybody who could push him out of the team.
Welcome back to the Rugby Pod, where we've got something special lined up for you, haven't we, Biggs?
We have, mate. Go on, I'll let you tee it up. I'm not quite at the level of talking about myself in the third person just yet.
Yeah, so this is a special series with our friends at Go.Compare called Biggar Thinking Lines Edition, where basically we'll be bringing you extra lines content throughout the tour of Australia, comparing some of the biggest talking points of the tour.
We're going to be providing you with analysis, talking points, and my personal insights into the British and Irish Lions tours.
So what we're doing today, it's an Ultimate Lions 15 Australia Showdown. So we're going to be comparing that iconic 2013 Test team that won the last Lions series down under against this summer's 2025 squad. So it's going to be a combined 15, all versus new. Let's see who makes the cut.
So settle back, enjoy, and make sure you're subscribed on YouTube.
Right, mate, just to set some ground rules then before we get people coming for us in the comments about, you've left Faletau out, you've left so-and-so out. So the rules are, as we're prepping for the first test, so we are picking from the 2013 Lions first test team only. So who played in the second and third test who missed out on the first test? There was a couple missing, wasn't there?
Yeah, Jamie Roberts.
Yes.
I played in the last test. I think he missed the first couple, didn't he, actually? Who else would have been? Faletau
Definitely missed some, yeah.
Yeah, Faletau. Lydiot started the last test, didn't he? So basically, it was just
there's a couple of big names.
It was basically just all the Welsh, wasn't it, in the final test, which is why it went down so well. But I think you're right in what you say, Rob. We need to make sure that we outline the rules because, and you know what's so good about these comparison sort of pieces that we're doing is that everyone is going to have a different opinion, and this is basically, I'm sure, you and I will disagree on some calls on today's episode.
I think we are going to disagree, Biggs, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll put it out there. We'll let everyone have their opinions, and I'm sure there'll be Irish people, Welsh people, English people, Scots people who will be disagreeing and shouting at the computers, but should we give it a go?
Let us know in the comments where Biggs has gone wrong anyway. Tell him where he should have went. Right, mate, let's get started then. So let's start at the beginning. Loose head prop. So 2013 first test, Alex Corbisiero.
Yeah. See, this is one I've got down as like if you can persuade me enough, I could be willing to change it. But it's who are you swapping him for? And I looked back, I watched the first test back last night before doing this, and the scrum was just immense. And it's really difficult to leave someone out off the back of that scrummaging performance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I will say, I know I've immediately contradicted myself here, but he did score that try in the third test, didn't he?
So you're breaking your own
Which
rules,
is pretty
what you're saying.
So, it's my game, mate. So I make the rules. So
I thought it was named after me.
Well, Biggar / producer Rob thinking.
We're on to bigger things here, mate. We're on to bigger things. Okay. I think it's difficult to move Corbisiero out of that combined team. I think Genge, Porter and Schumann are all excellent players, and I've got probably slightly different attributes to Corbisiero. But I think in 2013, Alex Corbisiero in 2013 is probably just ahead of Porter, Genge and Schumann in 2025. That's my opinion.
I'll tell you, I had Andrew Porter written down.
He'd be the one.
I do like Andrew Porter.
He'd be the one, I think. He'd be the most likely to take Corbisiero's shirt, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a strong scrummager. The other lads are probably, to be fair to say that they would be, good in the loose. Maybe Schumann's a bit of both, but yeah, I can see why you've gone Corbisiero.
Yeah, I think as well.
I'm not going to argue with you on that.
The other loose heads, they probably are almost more like back rowers, aren't they, in terms of that when they're around the pitch? But I think scrummaging performance-wise, I think it's very difficult to move out Corbisiero. Right,
we'll go Corbs then. Hooker. So 2013 was Tom Young's.
Legend of a bloke player. But, and I hate doing this, especially, this is I can't win here because I've played with and against all these players from 2013 and 2025, so I can't win either way. But I said it a couple of weeks ago. I said I think there's 3 people assured of their place in the first test for Brisbane on this tour, and I think one of them is Dan Sheehan. And
100%.
I think his all-round game in terms of his set-piece accuracy, his carrying ability, his work rate. I mean, he could go 80 minutes if he needed to. That's how fit and strong and combative he is. I think he's one of those guaranteed. And I think as much as I love Tom Youngs and think he was a fabulous player, I think Dan Sheehan's overall game just edges Tom Youngs out.
100%. His try scoring record as well. I mean, how many hookers have a try scoring record like his? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think, are we in agreement with that? Dan Sheehan gets in over Tom Youngs.
Sheehan is there at hooking. So then to tight head, and I think this is actually a really difficult pick. So your 2013 pick was Bomb, Adam Jones. And then 2025 is a bit of a tricky one as well, isn't it? Because there's a lot of questions around this, Tadhg Furlongs, how fit is he? Where are you thinking, mate?
I will never be able to. I'll have to delete Adam Jones from my phone book if I replace him from this team. He will be absolutely peppering me for months to come if I leave him out. Again, I go back to that first test, the scrummaging. The scrummaging performance is what allowed the Lions to have field position, which allowed Lee Halfpenny to have as many shots at goal as he did. And in a game where they won 23-21, I just think you cannot leave out your tight head who's winning you scrum penalty after penalty after penalty. And this year is actually, like you said, Rob, it's a little bit, Tadhg Furlong hasn't played a huge amount of rugby. And when he has played, he hasn't looked 100% fit, has he? So I think it's difficult to put him in there currently. And then Finlay Beelam's been called up, who I don't think, as much as he's been great for Ireland when Furlong hasn't played, I don't think you can put him in the same category as the great Adam Jones. And Will Stewart, who's been excellent for England over the last sort of 9 to 12 months and had a brilliant year for Bath. I don't know. I just think, again, with the loose heads, it's who you're replacing them for. And I think had Tadhg Furlong been fully fit and firing, that could have been a discussion. But I just think the scrummaging performance in 2013 is what probably got the Lions field position, territory, shots at goal, and the amount of points I've scored off the back of Adam Jones' scrum penalties. I cannot leave him out.
I will say, caveat these discussions by this 2025 Lions team feels very much like a transitional team, whereas that, maybe in previous years, your players would have been, you could draw on that, like big Six Nations experience and what have you. But
do you know what, this year's group, this sort of series is very much you look at the balance and you look at, if you're comparing the two groups, this group is very much a bit of a, you've got your loose heads who could be back rowers, your hookers who could be back row, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of, they're a little bit of sort of, a bit of everything in there, aren't they? You know what I mean? They're a bit of a combined mix. And whereas back in 2013, I think the game's changed as well in 12 years, by the way. The game has massively changed. Yeah. So you need probably more mobile forwards and you need more sort of hybrids a little bit. And I think that's what this pack in particular is in 2025. Whereas in 2013, it was very much, okay, you've got your line out forward in your back row, you've got your scrummaging tight head, your scrummaging loose head, your throwing hooker, etc. You know what I mean? I think it was very much, if you're comparing the two packs as we're starting up front row, I think you've probably got a front row this year of back rowers and you've got a front row of front rowers in 2013, if that makes sense.
I would say I love Furlong's ability to be a playmaker as well. Like, he's great with the ball in the hands, like little deft passes and stuff as well. Yeah,
what he is excellent at is that ability to act as an extra ball player in that midfield, knows the system, knows the shape really well. His ability to get the ball through his hands and beat people one-on-one is excellent, which clearly is a step above what Adam Jones gives you. But I think it's just impossible to leave Adam Jones out of those two combined teams. But again, it's all subjective, isn't it? Because if the game's played 12 years ago compared to now, the game's very different. But I think looking at that first test performance, impossible to leave him out.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on Adam Jones, mate. I'll give you him. So the locks. So 2013, you had two legends. I think we're going to struggle to move these. So you had Alan Wynne and Paul O'Connell. And then the 2025 team, you're looking at Maro Itoje, Tyke Byrne, Ollie Chesham, Joe McCarthy, James Ryan. What are your thoughts, Emma? I think you're going to struggle to move either of those 2013 legends out, aren't you?
I think let's go for the, if we could call it slightly easier. I don't think you can leave out a guy who's got 12 Lions caps. And for me,
no.
he just stays in, the most cap player of all time, the engine that he had, the ability just to keep moving, keep working, giving absolutely everything. And that's kind of like he's a bit of an old school. He's got great skills, Alan Wynne, but he's a bit of they're both in that older school mold of second rows, aren't they? In terms of roll your sleeves up, get a load of work done, win lineouts, defend mauls, make your tackles. So I think, when you're speaking of a combined Lions, probably a combined Lions team ever, Alan Wynne gets in it. So it's very difficult to leave him out for a 2013 versus 2025 version. So Alan Wynne for me is 100% staying in.
Agreed. And in that second position,
my God. We're going to get some stick if we do. If whatever we do here, I think, right, the way I look at it, the only person that could come in over Paul O'Connell, if you're looking at it, comparing it like for like, is Maro Itoje.
Yeah.
And if you compare the two of them, what do the two of them give you? Paul O'Connell gives you an absolute brilliant line-out forward. He gives you grunt and work rate and ability just to hit rucks and make his tackles and get through all the unfancy work. And I suppose Maro gives you a little bit different in terms of he is a bit more dynamic, almost, he has played a fair bit in the back row at 6 as well. So again, a brilliant line option. It's a really tough call. I think that's the only one. I love Tyke Byrne. I love the rest of the guys, but I do think that Maro's the only one who could replace Paul O'Connell. Is that a fair call, Rob?
I would say so. Obviously, tour captain this year. I mean, the fact he's played his Six Nations England record is like ridiculous. He's played like every minute of however many Six Nations. And if you do look back at that 2013 tour, Paul O'Connell did break his forearm in that last game.
Yeah, played on mine till the end. Played on to the end, which is some ability, especially in that position. But it's hard, isn't it? Because I think if you compare probably Paul O'Connell, 2013, it's oh my goodness me, this is important. This is a flip of a coin for me. I really don't know which way to go with that. I think. One is on his way to being an all-time great of the game, and one clearly is an all-time great of the game in that position. I mean, it really is. I think, Maro, I suppose discipline-wise is the one thing you could go against him in terms of that. You think that in tight games that potentially that could count against him in terms of if Maro's going to give the odd silly penalty away. He seemed to get a little bit better in the Six Nations, didn't he, in terms of that sense with the captaincy. But
I think that extra responsibility, I think he's taken that, and I think that has made him a better player, and I think he does communicate with the refs better with that responsibility. Yeah. So go on then, Biggs. Are you going to upset some Irish fans?
No, do you know what? I just can't leave Paul O'Connell out. And I think, who knows, what may well be after this, after this series, we could well be saying that, putting Maro Itoje in the same bracket. But I think for me, it's just impossible to leave Paul O'Connell out of a team when he was in his real sort of prime, really, I suppose. I can't leave Paul O'Connell out.
Right, there's a lot of nostalgia going on here, mate. There's a lot of 2013 picks. Let's see where we go here.
Are you happy, just so we're clear, are you happy with that, or is there anything you want to chuck in?
I had written down Alan Wynne and Paul O'Connell, and then as we were chatting, I was going Maro, but no, you can't. Paul O'Connell's an absolute legend of the game. Yeah. Maybe after this tour,
we'll chuck Maro on the bench.
If Maro goes and wins,
we'll have Maro on the bench coming on at 45-50. Yeah, fine.
Yeah. I'll give you that one, mate. Right, 6 and 7. 2013 was Tom Croft and Sam Warburton. So obviously this 2024, we had a little chat before we pressed record, didn't we, about this 2025 back row and how, that there isn't a lot of position-specific players there. It's all hybrid. What are your thoughts here, mate? What are we doing?
Well, I think, you summed it up basically. They're they're all very similar players, aren't they? In terms of if you could put them in a mold, you'd probably put them in the same mold. Whereas you compare that 2013 back row, it was very much, again, similar to sort of what we talked about with the front row, very positions specific. You had your two number eights, out and out eights in terms of Heaslip and Faletau. You had your line out forward as Tom Croft. You had your old school, absolutely just whacking everything and doing all the grunt and the hard work in Dan Lydiate, who was superb at that. And then you had your fetcher and your out and out seven in Warburton, and someone with a bit of brilliance and a bit of everything in Tipperick coming off the bench in that series. So I think this year, when you compare the back rows players individually this year to 12 years ago, they're in a completely different mold. I think Tom Croft from 2009 in that South Africa series would have been very difficult to move out of this team. But I do think that in 2013, I think he played the first one, came off at about 60 minutes, and then was on the bench for the last couple. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. I think he came on off the bench, didn't he?
And I personally think Van der Fleer or Curry, I think that's the discussion we'll have now, unless you're going to chuck anybody else out there. I think either one of those two probably pips Tom Croft in this because of their, I suppose Tom Croft was brilliant in the wide channels, brilliant line out forward, but I think those two that we've just mentioned in Van der Fleer and Curry have probably got a little bit of everything in terms of across the board.
Am I right in saying that you're definitely not dropping Sam Warburton? So we just lock Sam Warburton in there?
I think,
you're not dropping
Warburton, I mean, again, as much as I like the back rows that have played this year, I don't think there's anybody who could probably push him out of the team. I think, winning captain, difficult, ability over the ball, turnover penalties won in that series. So I think he's locked in. So I think.
So who do you think best pairs up with Warbs, a Curry or a Van der Fleer?
See, for me, if you're, I think that's a good question, because I think if you pick Warburton, and Sam got through an absolute shed ton of work and made tons of tackles, etc. But you'd want somebody almost to complement him in a way, in terms of, and I think Van der Fleer, and I love Van der Fleer, by the way, I think Curry is dynamic, the pace, the energy, the tenacity, chasing everything down is brilliant. But I just think Van der Fleer gives you work rate in the contact area, whether it's choke tackles, counter rucks, jackals, pressure in every single ruck, pressure in every single phase, a pace as well, ability to play in that shape and lovely soft hands and win contact meters. So I think if you're partnering up, if you're saying Sam Warburton's in that team, I think Van der Fleer probably complements him a little bit better, because I think Van der Fleer is a 7, but could potentially be a 6 if he needed to be as well. And I think Curry, for me, is an out-and-out 7 and a flyer. So I think Van der Fleer probably just outs Tom Croft.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
That's what I had written down. I had Van der Fleer and Warburton written down at 6 and 7. So,
and I think he just gives you a little bit more all around the park. You know what I mean? I think Tom Croft was brilliant at what he did in terms of line out forward, pace in the outside channels. But Van der Fleer, for me, gives you more around the park than Tom Croft.
And then this is a really difficult one as well. So 2013 was Jamie Heaslip. And then your 2025 team, you've got Jack Cornan, who's probably sort of the only real out-and-out 8 in the squad. But then you've also got, Pollock's played a bit of 8, if he can get himself in the test contention. You've got Ben Earl, again, another one who's not an out-and-out 8. He kind of swaps around, doesn't he, at Sarries with Tom Willis, and has moved around a bit with England. What you thinking about that age shirt?
I really wished Faletau had been in that first test team, because we could have just moved on quickly with that, couldn't we? Where am I thinking with this? I think, as much as I love Henry Pollock and think he's been brilliant, I am not in a position to swap him out for a 95 cap Ireland international who's won the lot with Leinster and Ireland. He's not at that stage just yet. I think Henry Pollock's a fabulous player and will potentially go on to do great things, but I think I'm just separating him a little bit at the minute. And I think it's probably between Conan and Earl, because those are the two who you'd most likely expect to play 8. Ben Earl's obviously played a bit of 8 for, as you mentioned, Rob Sarries, but England as well. And I suppose Jack Conan was the starting 8 4 years ago, was brilliant on that tour in terms of winning the hard yards. Good line-out option as well. Captaincy, obviously captaining in the place of Doris at the minute. So it's a really tricky. It's funny because I think if Doris was fit, I think I'd have swapped out Doris for Heaslip, and if Faletau was in, I think I'd have kept Faletau in. So this for me is a really tricky one. I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm not, put it this way. I don't think I can swap Ben Earl out at 8, because I don't think 8 is his actual proper position. I think, again, like we mentioned, they're all hybrids. So I don't think he's gets out there. I think for me, it probably is between Conan and Heaslip. And I don't know where I'm going. I think you look at the two, right? Heaslip was very much a bit of a finesse, a bit more of a finesse player in terms of, again, good hands, sort of, got this team on the front foot a little bit, was very much a bit of a link between, your O'Mahony and your Tyke Berg in the later days, etc. And I don't know, I'm just not sure Heaslip. It's a really tough one, isn't it? I don't know. Like, you compare the two of them, Jack Conan's going to get you on the front foot, win a few more hard yards. Jamie Heaslip's going to be probably better suited in a shape and structure system where you can play your pods of 3, where he's got the ability to tip the ball and get through a lot of work and things. But I do think it's a really tough one. And if I'm honest, there's too much to choose between it. And I think I'm given that the Lions won that test in 2013, I think, and 90 odd caps for Ireland, I think I'm just keeping Heaslip in that.
Oh, I would have said Conan because of how well he played in 2021. And it's kind of easy. Well, you won't forget, but it's easy to forget how close we were to winning the series there in South Africa. And he was a big part of that, wasn't he?
Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, looking back now, the amount of hard yards he gained in a pretty attritional series. And I think as well, like, without being disrespectful to Jamie Heaslip in that 2013 series, the pack that Jamie Heaslip went up against in 2013 probably wasn't quite the same as that 2021 pack of the Springboks, and the amount of hard yards that Jack Conan got and really stood out in that series, didn't he, in terms of carrying ability. Yeah, actually, do you know what? I think we're giving.
Have I convinced you?
Yeah, you have. Because you've convinced me because of who the two teams were up against, and I think that's the big thing as well, is when you compare that, you look at, like, say, 2021 tour, you were going up against, everyone now is saying that they're the best team that's ever played the game. So for whoever's stood out in that tour, which Jack Conan has and is going again in 2025, if he can have the same impact, or even keep it the same in 2025 against Australia, against that pack compared to the Springbok pack, he's going to be a really important player. So I think you've convinced me enough there, given who the opposition were, to change to Jack Conan.
I think it's easy. It's easy to forget how good Jack Conan is because he's spent a bit of time behind Caelan Doris, and he's is generally used off the bench now. But class player, was great in 2021,
and I think that's the big thing.
He's earned that spot.
You compare the two packs that they were playing against, and probably, even though it was in a losing effort, Jack Conan probably just outplayed Heaslip in that sense.
All right, Biggs, I'm going to stop you there, mate. We've selected our Go.Compare Ultimate Lions Australia team for the forwards, and we're going to be back next week to give you our picks for the backs. And I think, actually, that's where we're going to start falling out. Yeah, quite possibly, Rob. We'll wait and see what happens with that one. But big thanks to Go.Compare for sponsoring this series. If you've enjoyed it, please leave a comment below and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, as it helps us massively. Before we go though, mate, who would you say was the Go.Compared key decision this week? Which position was the toughest to pick? I think it was probably the locks. I think it was a real. I mean, Paul O'Connell's got God status, so it would have been really tough to have left him out. Maro would have been the only person, but it was a tough call. But I think the Go.Compare key decision this week was probably the locks. Fair enough. Yeah, I'll agree with that one. Cheers, Biggs.
Cheers, Rob.